profile called QTPP. So what is QTPP? From the RLD reference listed drug, you need to identify what is the strength of the dosage form, the biological attributes, the structure, shape, and everything you need to come up upfront. That is called QTPP. So this way, I'm going to present in a brief way risk-based quality by design approach to come up with a controlled strategy that is called specifications for the raw materials, specifications for the product, specifications for the in-process controls. You need to define upfront. The second slide here, I'm going to depict on this is a conventional to continuous manufacturing. Typically, what we do, you take the active pharmaceutical ingredients and other excipients, mix them in through a co-mill screening, and you blend them in a blender. In the blender, you need to optimize the process parameters like the blending time, occupancy. All those are called as a critical process attributes. So after blending, it goes to the granulation. In the granulation, typically we add the binder solution and also the impeller tip speed, how much amount of what is the RPM speed, so you need to come up with a solution. So total overall in this process, you need to come up with a design space by optimizing the process parameters, so critical process parameters. Conventional continuous, what is the conventional, what is the continuous here is, if you see in the case of conventional process, each and every unit operation you will see as a segregated entity. But however, in the continuous process, all the unit operations are connected at one go, and the continuously you will come out. That is right from the API, excipients, sifting, screening, blending, and granulating, drying, and again goes to the tablet compression. Here also you need to come up with the design space, so you have to challenge the fader RPM, the RPM of the speed of the turret machine, and what about the impact on the thickness, hardness. If the hardness is very high hardness, low hardness, and target hardness, how the impact upon the dissolution profile. Ultimately, we have to see what is the dissolution profile pattern in the OGD media, official FDA media, and also USP media. Sometimes also people will come up with a discriminatory dissolution medium, biorelevant medium, in order to match exactly your test product RLD, dissolution with the RLD, right? So this is overall from the conventional to continuous. In this slide, I'm going to talk about the typical A&D development overall view, the chart. First to RLD. What is RLD? It is a reference listed drug from the innovator, the brand companies. They took a huge amount of time and resources to develop the RLD. So extensive data is available from the FDA website, maybe from the CMC sections, microbiological sections, availability. So how they develop toxicology, everything is available from the FDA website. Once you buy the RLD tablets, then you have to do the pre-formulation studies where you do the reverse engineering. What is reverse engineering? You have to see RLD, what type of so excipients they did use and what technology they adopted just by seeing the patents. So in the pre-formulation, typically you do the reverse engineering, and also you try to follow the some initial trial batches called pre-formulation development, where exactly you do the drug versus excipient compatibility and other studies. Then once the pre-formulation step is completed, then it comes to the formulation development, where exactly you define the the formulation development and also process together to see how the dissolution is matching exactly with RLD. Once after having the final formula, tentative final formula composition, at least to some extent, then the next stage is you are going to implement the quality by design, risk-based quality by design from the FDA perspective, optimization, process optimization, and process optimization. So both process and formulation together will constitute the overall product quality. That's why you need to come up with a QBD at this point of time. So once after the optimization is completed, then when you feel that you are comfortable, then you have to trial for the exhibit batches for the filing purpose to FDA. Currently, 3 batches, 100,000 packable units and 2 API lots, you have to use it for the ANDA batches. Then after the while, one of the batch you have to conduct the bioequivalence study. So what is bioequivalence study is that you have to exactly match, that is your test product biologically bioequivalent to the RLD. that is 90% confidence interval for the test versus the RLD. So in the AEC and also C maximum in the range of 85 to 125%. So this is called bioequivalence. Typically to conduct the pivotal pivotal bio study for hello, hello, hello. Yeah. నమస్తే ఏంది మధ్యలో కట్టింది మధ్యలో అయిపోయిందా? యా యా యా. I'm sorry for the interruption. I think hope I'm clear. So now I'm going for the next slide. So in the whole E&A chart. So formulation development and process development, formulation and process optimization by exhibit batches, then bioequivalence. Then after that, then you have to give it for stability. So for the filing to ANDA, I think 6 month 40, 75, 40 degrees and 75% RH, you need to file for the FDA. Then this is a patent exclusivity, means para 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. Typically, the brand companies, the innovator companies, they have their own patents. So typically, the generic industry, they follow the patent exclusivity. Paragraph 1 means no listed patents are available. Paragraph 2 means listed patents are already expired. And paragraph 3, typically the generic industry, India, they follow paragraph 3 means patents are already there. Once after the expiry of the patents, then you can file for the, FDA. So paragraph 4 means you cannot infringe upon the patents of the innovator, but however, you have got the chance to circumvent or, bypass the patents, and you can produce your own paragraph 4, called first to file, they called as. If you produce the paragraph 4 by circumventing the process or formulation or, drug substance, by bypassing the patents, or by invalidating the patent, you can get the 180-day exclusivity. So these are typically the patent exclusivity from the, as per the Hatchman 1984 Act. So then comes the marketing exclusivity. What does it mean and why? Exclusivity is a period of time when a brand name of the drug is protected from the generic drug competition. Because, for example, in the case of orphan drugs, orphan diseases, and also very rare diseases, which are very, like, for example, COVID is going on, right? COVID-19. So like that, so the FDA will give the, marketing exclusivity for all producing the drugs, file to meet in the treatment of the drugs and, diseases. The FDA is granting the marketing exclusivity. So in this slide, you are going to see what is the marketing exclusivity is. For the new chemical entity, we have 5 years of marketing exclusivity. Marketing complete rights to distribute to market in the commercial market in USA. So 180-day exclusivity, only marketing rights are available for the ANDA. In the case of typical NDA 505B1 and 505B2, you can see new clinical investigational drugs, they enjoy the marketing rights of the 3 years. Likewise, orphan drug exclusivity is 7 years. What is orphan drug is rare diseases. So the orphan diseases are which having lesser than 2 lakhs people in America worldwide. So for example, autoimmune disorders. So these are called as orphan drugs. Orphan diseases. Likewise, pediatric exclusivity 6 months. So this is overall marketing exclusivity. Now, once after the completion of the conventional small molecule development, now we are going for the innovation. Why innovation? Here you can see innovation biologics. So because of the growing number of the rare diseases, growing number of the typical unknown diseases in the growing population, the FDA is promoting the industries to go for the innovation, particularly the biologics. Biologics are coming from the mainly derived from the mammalian cells or microbial cells. So the drugs which are conventionally they follow the recombinant DNA technology, monoclonal antibodies, and also cell cultures, vaccines, CAR T cells. So these are called biologics. They follow current typical technologies. So innovation is now gaining momentum overall in order to meet the upcoming emerging new diseases which are not able to mitigated by the small molecules. So likewise, in order to mitigate the rare diseases, genetic diseases, when there is no alternative for the small molecules, so extensive clinical trials are going on currently, particularly when the biologics and also innovation. So now you can see the rare diseases are Barrett esophagus, that is like B-cell lymphoma, benign essential, beta thalassemia, all these are called as the rare diseases. So I am going for the traditional manufacturing towards the continuous manufacturing innovation. In the traditional manufacturing, as we have seen earlier slide, each unit operation we see as a segregated, separate entity, right from the dispensing, right from the, so blending, then granulation typical, then compression, then coating the next stage of coating. But in the continuous manufacturing, at one step, you can complete all the, manufacturing processes. Typically, that's what FDA is looking for, innovation in the continuous manufacturing. The main is plug flow, no scale up is required, faster design of experiment, you can complete, improving the end quality. You can reduce the R&D, the cost, plug play GMP machines. So here in this diagram, I'm showing here, multiple operations as a separate entity in the typical batch manufacturing. So multi-step batch manufacturing. But in the continuous manufacturing, you can see this is at a one go, you can see, so you can complete all the activities. So in the next slide, I'm showing the demo on the continuous manufacturing. So here is starting the granulation step process. This is the continuous granulation step process is going on. So all the controls are recipe driven in the HMI. You can see this. Now he is going to control all the, critical process parameters. So once after the completion of the high shear granulation step, it goes automatically. He is now start on with the dryer. Drying, the drying process is going on. So this is a continuous process manufacturing. Now the drying process is going on. So once after the drying is completed, then you can see the in-process controls of the, like LOD, loss on drying, the flow of the granules. You can check also the in-process, processing parameters and the process controls. So now you can implement here the DOE, design of experiments, in the mini DOE in the same panel. by incorporating the same, the data, whatever you have it, and accordingly you can see the desirability also in the QBD. Typically here there is no scale up is required, because conventionally what we do in the R&D activity, you can make a 10 kilo batch, then you go to the commercial level, it's going to be multi, maybe 500 kilos or 1000 kilo batches. But in the continuous manufacturing, you can see, at one time there is no scale up is required. It's a continuous process. It's all the multiple steps can be done within in a single step. So that's what FDA is looking for in order to, the R&D perspective, and also companies perspective to improve the quality. So continuous improvement is also one of the innovative continuous manufacturing. So now in this slide, I'm going to talk about the packaging innovation from the traditional to innovation. So FDA taking a new steps to adopt more modern technologies for improving the security of the drug supply chain through innovations that improves the tracking and the tracing. Basically, in the continuous, so the packaging called, the main point is here, the what we call serialization of the packaging. So what is serialization? FDA is particularly emphasizing the the tracking and tracing of the medicines to the through the drug supply chain. So now you can see traditionally when you see here manually packaging is going on, all the people are here, you can see here. So manual labeling, manual barcoding, manual filling is going to become a lot of quality issues. So in order to make sure that the safety and efficacy and also security of the drug supply chain continuously, FDA is particularly emphasizing the follow tracking and tracing of medicines to the serialization of the packaging. Serialization of the packaging, now you can see the demo here. Right from the label application on the bottles, first step. Then labels inspection. Printing of a temporary barcode for the tracking purpose. Then 360 degrees inspection. This is called HMI data matrix detection and recognition. So HMI visible and UV do the tracking and so HMI also displays the clear and comprehensive serialization report here. You can see that. So right from the beginning of the labeling, serialization also, labels, inspection, barcode generation, 360 degrees inspection, and ultimately making the HMI final report. Once the bottles are completed, the bottles are placed into bundles. the camera's reading of visibles and UV ink data matrix. Again, printing and application and inspection of the bundles labels also here. Finally, in the HMI panel, you can see the data validation report also here. You can see by seeing the linear barcode. HMI displays a clear and a comprehensive serialization report. In this case, the bundles are again aggregated into the cases here, you see. Again, label printing for the final pallet aggregation and for confirmation. So this is called, continuous, that is called serialization of the packaging innovation, which FDA is particularly emphasizing all the industry to go with, because in order to make sure that the drug supply chain is very safe and secure, the main purpose is to tracking and also tracing of medicines and the drugs. So this is called packaging innovation. So in the next slide, I'm going to talk about the simple to complex innovation therapies. Hitherto, we talked about the small molecules, and now we are going to talk about the complex biological molecules. So what is the difference between the small and bigger molecules? Conventionally, you can see ibuprofen, Tylenol, so paracetamol, all these are called small molecules. The proteins, peptides, monoclonal antibodies, immunoglobulins for immunotherapy, all these are called complex biologics. There's increasing demand for the growing number in order to mitigate the growing number of diseases in the growing population in the worldwide. So all the agencies are looking for the innovation in the therapies. Now I'm going to talk about simple to complex innovation therapies. So when you go from the simple to complex advanced therapies derived from the living material, most complex structure, they have high molecular weight. So what are the list of innovative biologics and the companies? In this slide, I'm going to talk about the list of all the companies which are embarking upon the exploration of the new innovative approaches on the biologics front, So all the companies here, AbbVie, Bristol Myers, Celgene, and Amgen, Pfizer, Merck, Roche, all these are, brand companies mainly locating in Europe and USA. And the active ingredients are this is Humira. Humira's the drug is, Humira is the trade name. Adalimumab is the active ingredient. The main purpose of the use of this Humira is the autoimmune disorder. That is, that in the treatment of the Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, and also spondylitis, ulcerative colitis, psoriatic arthritis, then juvenile idiopathic diseases. In the worldwide, they have 1.1 millions of the the patients are there currently. So these are autoimmune disorders, particularly where the conventional small molecules, they cannot be be very effective for the treatment. All the companies like brand companies and innovative companies, FDA is also encouraging to go with the innovative therapies. Likewise, the main mechanism of the action is anti-TNF factor. So it's all monoclonal antibodies. The next one is Celgene. So they filed already, Revlimid is the trade name, Revlimid. Lenalidomide is the active ingredient. Mainly the user is oncology, multiple myeloma. So mostly in the growing number of population worldwide, you can see the diabetes and also diabetes retinopathy, cancer diseases, oncology like lung cancer, liver cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, where the effective medications are not available. The FDA and other agencies, they're looking for the innovative therapies. So currently they have a lot of sales. You can see the sales in 2018 revenue, 20.47 billions for the Humira. Similarly, you can see in the case of Celgene, 9.69 billions for the Revlimid. Likewise, you can see Keytruda. If you go for the Met company, they filed the trade name is called Keytruda. So pembrolizumab is the active ingredient mainly using in the so the cancer immunotherapy, lung cancer, head and neck cancer, and also Hodgkin's diseases. All these are called rare. Some are very rare diseases which are impacting about less than 2 lakh people in worldwide. So in order to produce the medicines and also drugs, the agencies is and also overall looking for the innovative therapies. This is the overall innovative, the companies list and also the molecules. So also this is Keytruda is a monoclonal antibodies, IgG, immunoglobulins actually, which is a protein in nature. So if you see the overall trend now, rise in the prevalence of cancer and other targeted diseases across the globe is the key factor to accelerate the market growth during the forecast period across all regions. The monoclonal antibody segment dominates the market, holding 39% of the global market. And also the next level is gene biologics are growing predominantly with the CAGR of 14.3, compound annual growth rate of 14.3%, followed by the vaccines and also cellular biologics. Likewise, cancer is expected to be the fast growing market segment during the forecast to be 2019. Likewise, you can see application, immune and also diseases, infectious diseases. The key players are mainly locating in America and Europe. So innovative therapies mainly they're doing a lot of research activities in association in collaboration with the universities, hospital settings. So mainly you can see the BMS, Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, Amgen, Celgene, Novartis, Novo Nordisk. These are the key players. So if you see the segment I'm going to talk about here overall segment, by 2024, the therapy areas are dominating mainly oncology. If you see from the last 2 decades, there is an increasing number of oncology or cancer patients worldwide, maybe in India, also not only in India, but also in US, across the globe. The mainly oncology is the biggest one where the thrust areas where the innovative therapies are mainly focusing upon. So likewise, anti-diabetics, diabetes is another therapy, anti-rheumatics, bronchodilators, vaccines. These are the therapy areas. This graph depicts how 2 or 3 decades, we have to focus more on the innovation therapies. So the next innovation which is emerging already in 2017. So CAR T cell therapy. What is CAR T cell therapy is by using the patient's immunity. If a patient is suffering from any tumor or blood cancer, using its own immune therapy or T cells. T cells are mainly meant for the immunotherapy. Take out the blood from the patient, take out the T cells, isolate them, and also by using appropriate technology or engineering, they will try to modify to produce a special structures called chimeric antigen receptors on the same T cells. Okay, so it's only patients selective actually. If a patient is suffering from the blood cancer, take out blood in the hospital setting, isolate the T cells and send it to the other settings manufacturing site where they produce the specific antigen called so chimeric antigen receptors on the T cells. After a few weeks, again call the patient in a hospital setting. You try to infuse the same CAR T cells into the patient. This is effective medication for the blood cancers or for the rare diseases actually. This is called CAR T cells. Hitherto we have not known. From 2018, I think some companies like Gilead maybe or Novartis, they have come up already. They've filed for FDA. So going forward, lot of CAR T cell therapies will come in the picture. However, it may take a lot of time for the developing countries like India to come up with the CAR T cell therapy. In the next slide, I am going to show the CAR T cell therapy demo. So this is the T cell. All these are called as a chimeric antigen receptors on the T cells, tagged. Isolate the T cells from the patient and send it to the manufacturing site where they will try to incorporate the chimeric antigen receptors on the T cells. So this is called CAR T cells. How it's going to kill the tumor cells, you can see in the next step. In this slide, mainly top 10 orphan drugs companies worldwide. Orphan drugs are the drugs which are meant for the to treatment of the rare diseases, particularly autoimmune diseases, so the cancer drugs or diabetes, which are very rare. So if you see the predictions by 2000, so maybe another this one, the main players are Novartis, Roche, Celgene, Shire. So Novartis is going to spend maybe the sales of 12.4 USA dollars billions. Likewise, Roche is going to have the sales of by 10.3, Celgene 10. So this is market share is a 9.9 for the Novartis, 8.2 for Roche, and 8% is a Celgene. So all these brand companies are locating basing on the USA and in Europe mainly. So these biologics are so mainly prevalent. So much of amount of investment is being done on the innovator companies. So what I would like to say that going forward, clinical trials, clinical management, clinical studies will be going on worldwide. So there's a lot of increasing demand, maybe another coming 2 decades. Now we can see in this chart worldwide total prescription of drug sales by 2010 to 2024. So you can see from here there is a upward trend from 2019 to by 2024. There is increasing demand for the prescription drugs. Within the prescription drugs also orphan drugs, which are very rare drugs, rare diseases. So generics they will keep maintain. Generics also they keep the maintain the same tempo, but however, if you see the biologics and also the generics, prescription drugs, particularly orphan drugs, there's increasing demand. I mean, sales for the around 6.9% CAGR by 2024. Sorry. Again, you can see here worldwide orphan drugs prescription sales share in by 2024. Top 10 companies: Celgene, Johnson & Johnson, Roche, Novartis, Takeda, AbbVie, Sanofi Aventis. So prescription drug sales expected to reach $1.18 trillion by 2024. Immuno-oncology significantly contributed to the growth. Novel tech cell and gene therapy will mark as an inflection in the pharma evolution. Cell and gene therapies provide a greater promise for the developing of effective patient-specific treatments. based upon a patient's unique genetic and cellular makeup. So oncology is the area of the largest with the largest population of the clinical development. Some of the examples of the emerging technologies and also innovations considered by the FDA. ETT means Emergency Technology Team in the FDA. They are promoting emerging technologies for the small molecules, continuous manufacturing of the drug substance, continuous manufacturing of the drug product. Drug substance is the API. The drug product is a unit dosage form like a tablet or capsule. More control strategy for the continuous manufacturing. 3D printing technology, which is also, I think, some of the molecules like levetiracetam approved in the FDA, which is also very patient specific. Likewise, emerging technologies for biologic molecules, controlled ice nucleation for lyophilization processes, advanced process control such as predictive modeling, and also multi-attribute method, next generation sequencing, continuous manufacturing, not only in the small molecules, but also for the downstream processing, like fermentation, whatever. So all these are depicted by FDA looking forward how the innovative technologies, process-wise, formulation-wise, therapy-wise, in order to, in all aspects, FDA is encouraging all the companies to come with forward in order to mitigate the upcoming emerging diseases in the next coming few decades. So now I'm going to talk about another innovation. So far we have seen innovation in the continuous manufacturing from the traditional to continuous manufacturing, innovation in the CAR T cell therapy, innovation therapy approach model, and now the innovation of the 3D printing technology. 3D printing technique is a patient specific actually, which is very highly economical, and also as per the patient needs, they can produce the tablets, particularly the oral tablet, which is I think already one company has got approval, that is levetiracetam. Levetiracetam is a drug by using a 3D printing. That technology is known as JIP dose. JIP dose technology. Here I am going to show the demo of the innovation for the 3D printing technology. Here, this is called a powder pharmaceutical blend here. After that, binder solution is going to be added here. It's basically the binder, so you see, I'm sorry. So this is ODT, oral disintegrating tablet. They will disperse within the seconds only. You see that. So now it is getting produced by 3D printing technology of the tablets. That's what FDA is looking for, you see. So now after the overall, we have seen the innovation in the therapies, innovation in the manufacturing, packaging, innovation in the therapies like CAR T therapy, innovation in the 3D printing, So now I'm going to talk about the career prospects. So because the budding students from India, B Pharmacy and pharma students worldwide, now they're looking on what about exactly to fit in the career prospects, So I got the feedback that, it's better to add up in the, as, career prospects. So typically, so you have a lot of demand in, as I said, mentioned earlier, there's a growing number of diseases worldwide, growing number of, the drugs and molecules come up, So typically you can join in the academics is the first one where one can join in the teaching profession. R&D. R&D is one of the thrust area in all levels. It's a drug substance or API or drug product, generic industry, innovative industry. Then next come to the pharmaceutical marketing field, medical writing and journalism. Nowadays, companies like IQVIA and also Quintilis, they are also recruiting a lot of people in order to promote the clinical documentation and medical transcriptions and all medical writing, where you can work from home options. Likewise, in the typical industry, you can see quality control and quality assurance. All these are one department. Quality control is where you can see the testing of the the raw materials, testing of the the drug products, so meant for the commercial market. Quality assurance is also one of the very critical department currently going on. FDA is particularly, so a lot of observations are coming on the industry. So quality assurance is also one of the very significant department in the industry. Likewise, you can see regulatory affairs. Tons of the guidance documents are already available in the FDA website. So this regulatory affairs not only available in the the jobs in the API, that is API manufacturers, the generic drug manufacturers companies, innovative brand companies, and also biologics, biosimilars. So if you know the overall, approach in the regulatory also is one of the upcoming and prospective prospects. So likewise, pharmaceutical manufacturing, where typically you can implement all your innovative ideas and troubleshooting in the higher level scale up activities. And likewise, you can see pharmacovigilance, that is called drug safety, and REMS, that is called risk evaluation mitigation statement, where complete sometimes even after commercially approved market, drugs also, FDA is continuously monitoring to see the adverse reactions, safety and efficacy. If any complaints are coming from the from the consumers or patients, so they will try to keep a watch, the database, and also they keep watching the drug safety and efficacy, the database and everything in the pharmacovigilance. Likewise, hospital and also community pharmacist. Community pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, retail pharmacist jobs are available and plenty. Lot of demand maybe in the previously, but in the future, I'm going to talk about in my next slide what is the demand for the clinical pharmacist, hospital pharmacist, and retail pharmacist jobs in USA worldwide. So next, clinical trials. Clinical trials are the emerging field already, and going forward maybe another 2 decades, there is increasing demand for the clinical trials, because not only to carry out the bioequivalence studies, particularly in India, we do the bioequivalence study for the generic industry, right? But for the innovative therapies, we need to carry out extensive toxicological studies, safety studies, and also efficacy studies. And a lot of amount of time, like it may take around 10 to 15 years to come up to bring the molecule to the commercial level. And so extensive, there's a lot of demand for the clinical trials worldwide. So mostly 30 to 40% of the clinical trials for the innovative therapies conducting mainly locating in USA and Europe. But going forward, there's a shifting in the base to emerging markets also, like India and China. So where exactly we can capture the the demand for the clinical trials. So all this is a career prospects, I think, for pharma students and pharmacy students, where exactly pharmacology, medicinal chemistry, and also overall about pharmaceutical background. I think you have a lot of prospects, not only in the typical conventional industry, but also in the innovative industry overall. And going forward, I think I can say that clinical trials manufacturing, clinical trials, conducting a clinical trials, their documentation, regulatory connected to the regulatory. So this way, I think you have got a brighter chances and bright futures for the career prospects. So in the next slide, I am going to talk about the career prospects in USA, predictions from the 2016 to versus 2026. Typically, you can see retail pharmacy, chain pharmacies. What are the chain pharmacies? Like CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, all these are called as chain pharmacies. Independent pharmacy means, say for example, I am a pharmacist, right? Say for example, I can start my own, retail shop. That is called independent pharmacist. And long-term care pharmacies, likewise supermarkets, like the Target, Walgreens, Walmart. So they also have their own, the pharmacy shops and this one. Then mail pharmacies, just by mail order only, 28.2%. But however, when you move from this one to this here, next to non-retail settings, hospitals and also physician offices, outpatient care centers, home health services, you have a lot of demand in the upcoming years in the further few decades. Because if you see that baby boomers are going to be retired by 2030 range in America. What are baby boomers? People who born in 1960s or 1970s, they get retirement age of by 2030. So mostly many people are going to be retired mostly by 2030. If you see the population statistical parameters age wise, so people who born in 1990s, they call millennials. Okay, people who born in 1960s to 1975, they are called as baby boomers. So main retirement age when they come by 2030, more demand will be there for the hospital pharmacies in order to cater the needs of the aging population. That's why hospital pharmacy is going to have a lot of demand in the coming few decades. But however, the demand for the retail pharmacy will be as it is. There won't be any, further growth, but because more number of colleges are coming in. As of now in America, we have 140 college pharmacy graduates are coming, 15,000 graduates are coming every year. Overall in USA, we have 140 pharmacy colleges are available. And from the each college overall, so 15,000 graduates are coming. Before hitherto, we are getting a lot of people from India by 2003, So now there is a Pharma D is one of the requirement to become the pharmacist in USA. But however, the only main hurdle is that immigration. People have to come through like H1 visa, green card. So these are very, critical. I think without bothering much about these prospects, on the retail pharmacy or hospital pharmacy or whatever, I think there won't, coming years, there will be a lot of demand for the clinical pharmacy in India as well. Because outsourcing of mainly the documentation jobs, IQA, you can see the regulatory filings by using SAS software, how to exactly to make a reportable, regulatory reports for filing for the agency. So these jobs are available, can be done for the students of the Pharma D and also B Pharmacy students. So the main job for the retail or pharmacy or chain pharmacies is pharmacy role is very critical in America, particularly in the advanced countries where they will try to coordinate the insurance bodies, the physicians, and also the patients. Their role is very critical, very significant, because in the clinical pharmacy you can see that what is the how the patient drug interactions. That is very critical. So, for example, also in the aging population, if you see that increasing demand for the hospital pharmacy, for the geriatric patients, when you give a multiple, dose to the, any aging population, you have to know about the clinical trends. How it is going to act, the impact upon any particular patient, they're taking the patient versus drug profile. So in the last few slides, I'm going to depict upon the FDA structure, Office of the Commissioner, they have Office of Foods, Office of Medical Products, Tobacco, Global Regulatory Operations Policy, Office of Chief Scientist, Women's. Now you can see here, Office of the Drug Evaluation, they call it CEDR, Center for Drug Evaluation Research. This is meant for the generic industry and small molecules. When you go to the biologics, called as a Center for the Biologics Evaluation and Research, CBER, CBER, CBER. So within the FDA, you can see that Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, you can see that immediate office, Office of Program and Regulatory Operations, Office of Policy for the Pharmaceutical Quality, Biotechnological Products, Office of the New Drug Products, ONDP, Office of the Life Cycle Drug Products, Office of the Testing and Research, and Office of the Surveillance. Post-marketing also the FDA will keep a watch on the surveillance. Office of the Process and Facilities. I think with this I covered everything, and I'm ready for any questions, So total overall, we have covered the conventional to the innovation therapies, how the FDA is looking forward, how the emerging, in the coming few decades. So in order to treat for the treatment of the, growing number of population and diseases, how overall there is a current trend in the demand for the clinical pharmacies and also innovative therapies, and how FDA is increasing on the innovative strategies and also innovative perspective, and how about the career prospects, clinical side and hospital settings, and overall in the industry and FDA structured organization. I think I have covered, and for the today's topic, I feel I'm ready for any questions. You can feel free to ask any questions. If not, you can email me if any specific questions you have it, I can answer even through my email too. Thank you so much for our listening today's webinar. And I'm very sorry for the initial in the beginning there is a technical problem. I think after that I think the rest of the seminar and presentation might be good. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, we had a wonderful and informative presentation, sir. Sir, can you hear, sir?
Yes, sir. Your voice is audible.
Sir, Bhaskar Rao, sir.
Yeah.
Very kind of you, sir.
Yeah.
Very kind of you, sir. We had a wonderful and informative presentation, sir. On behalf of our management, I hereby express my wholehearted thanks to you and for giving, sir, a wonderful and informative, elaborated presentation, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, there are some questions. Sir, can you elaborate the 3D printing, sir?
Yeah.
So can you elaborate the 3D printing, sir? Recently, I have attended a webinar regarding 3D printing conducted by FDA. So they have told about a lot of advantages like individualized therapy. We can give a particular dose to the student, patient, like that they told. And what are the drawbacks with that, sir?
I think the main drawback is that sometimes the handling, so the technology will still it has come from the from the lab to the commercial level maybe. So I don't see much drawbacks. I mean, so far so only few companies have only filed for the agency, particularly levetiracetam. I think you can customize the drug dosage regimen. So and also you can go for the sustained and controlled release for the the tablets. So it's very specific, and I don't see much, the disadvantage as of now, to my knowledge, actually. Maybe unless if I involve deeply in the, the 3D printing or commercial manufacturing. So I think overall, 3D printing is a novel approach for every company, So it's only patient-centric, where you can manufacturing of any oral dispersible or controlled release for the patient-centric purpose.
Thank you, sir. Any possible of stability is used in that, sir? Because if you are manufacturing a dosage form in industry, there are a lot of regulatory regulations are there. So when it was going to individual therapy, even a clinic, if the doctor is going to print a tablet for a patient, so what are the possible problems it may come?
I think mainly the technology point of view, because patients, when I say particularly selective, mainly meant for the customizing to the patient, correct? The patient has to understand what about its body mass index and everything, So it's complete to understand about the patients, their inherent, the BMI, so the age, and for example, in the pediatric patient, small kids, you cannot give the, so you have to customize those things and all, So selection of the patients is very, very critical, when you customize the, particularly the 3D printing technology.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And there is a question by Mr. Raghavendra. If we converted the natural drugs to allopathy drugs, any impact on the human body, active powerfully in human body?
So if I understand your question correctly, when you convert your natural drugs into allopathy drugs, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was like that only.
Yeah, conversion means, the question, if I understand very clearly, how the conversion, for example, are you isolating the active principle completely, or you're going to formulate the active principle into the suitable dosage form or tablets or capsule? So what exactly, I think, if you could elaborate your question perfectly, then I can answer, I know in the naturopathy mainly, so basically herbal medicines, particularly in India, so some people they call homeopathy, Ayurvedam. So mainly, basically, you need to come up with, the main thing is that you have to optimize the dose. What is the toxicological, the dose, the data should be available. So the conversion of natural to allopathy means that there is a case, but at the same time, you need to come up with exactly what type of doses, currently ongoing. Maybe naturopathy might be, herbal might be the good cause for the to maintenance therapy. For example, when you get a rare disease, you have to go for allopathy. But after treatment, when you wanted to maintain the, the maintenance therapy, you can back up on the maybe naturopathy. But the conversion of natural to allopathy, I think I am not sure. But going forward, I think, biologics, as I mentioned, particularly the biologics, I think you can mainly the mammal cells and also microbial cells derived drugs can be done, can be, so from the conversion of natural to allopathy.
So there is another question in the chat box, sir. Is CAR T cell therapy the patient individualized, sir? You can,
Yeah.
in the chat box, you can check that question in the chat box, sir. Is CAR cell T therapy and the patient individualized, sir?
Yeah.
By Mr.
Can you please type for me?
Is CAR T cell therapy individualization of patient is there, sir? Something like that he asked.
Yeah. Actually, you're correct, because it's only meant for the individual. It's not a therapy meant for all the people. So particularly in the case of a particular patient is having a blood cancer, right? So you call that person in a hospital or in a patient setting. You try to give the blood donation as you give the blood donation, correct? So you try to collect the blood from the patient who is having the same, from the same patient. So then you isolate the T cells from the patient in a separate setting in a manufacturing site. So then you try to engineering that T cells of the same patient with the chimeric antigen receptors, okay? And after a few weeks, ask the patient to come back again for the hospital setting, where you will try to infuse the same thing to the patient. It is mostly, it is an individual therapy, patient therapy approach actually. So yes, I agree.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Sir, you were told about some of the software which is used for design space, no, sir?
Yeah, because for the quality by design space, right? The main thing, the main software tools are really Minitab, JMP Jump software tool, and these are the very design expert. Previously they used to call it design expert software. Now currently Jump software is very prevalent. It is SAS tools, SAS, they call SAS. So Jump tool is very effective, where you can see multiple multivariate study, full factorial. You can customize, it's very good, software currently what we are using, so Jump and Minitab. Minitab is a user friendly, maybe in the initially, but currently it's very, I think, you can use for the Jump software. Some of these tools are also available in the online, where you can download them. You can see it also maybe for a trial version, maybe for one month or 2 months. That way you can do it.
Okay, sir. Actually, the software is used for excipients compatibility, sir. We can find out the excipients compatibility in that particular software. Is it possible to find out the
Excipient compatibility? I don't think that, so for any specific drug molecule, you need to, conduct drug excipient compatibility studies at elevated temperatures of maybe 50 degrees and 75% RH and 40 degrees and 75% RH. You need to see at elevated levels of temperature and also humidity conditions, you need to real-time carry out the drug excipient compatibility studies in our lab setting. But however, from some other excipients vendor, for example, like FMC, Degussa, like Evonik, like, so JRS, they have their own base of, excipients database. You can collect the data at least to some extent what will happen at elevated temperatures. So they may not have any extensive drug excipient compatibility studies data available, but however, some data might be available with the vendors or raw material suppliers.
Okay, sir. So thank you, sir. Actually, I have one more question, sir. You have told about the serialized packaging method, na, sir.
Yeah.
Serialized packaging. Already, I have seen in the Janamad tablet, sir. So they have given a barcode in the outer box. Actually, my question is there any other use other than tracking? Is there any other use other than tracking?
Yeah, I think only tracking, for example, if a customer buys the tablet, right, if some tablets goes wrong in the same tablet or bottle, so tracking and tracing mechanism, not only FDA perspective, quality perspective also. So only not only for the tracking and tracing of the medication back to the, the manufacturing, recalls, and also to contain the, if anything like, for example, when you make a tablet, one batch goes into the public, right? When you found out any defect pill is there, when you trace back and tracing and tracking back to the same thing, then it is very easy to go to the drug supply chain. So Optel is the main thing, one of the tool where they are implementing the serialization of the packaging. So in addition to the tracking and tracing, safety is very, very critical from the FDA perspective. So safety is very critical, so that is also one of the advantages for the serialization of the packaging.
So they are going to give the different barcode for the different batch. Am I right, sir?
No. Each product have its own barcode actually. Each bottle, each bottle, they can trace by the bottle as such, each bottle. That's what each bottle actually.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just like a fingerprinting, so they have their own barcode actually. So no two bottles cannot be having the same barcode. Yes.
So the whole batch doesn't have a same barcode. So each container is going to have an individual barcode like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry for interruption in the beginning. There's a lot of technical issues, but however, I'm very happy that so you all listened very carefully and patiently. So in the today's Sunday, I know you're all busy. So hope you're all doing safe and in the current situation and all your family members. So try to reach out to me of any questions in my email. So hope this presentation might be useful for all the upcoming students and also for the faculty.
Bhaskar Rao, sir?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very kind of your presentation, sir. Another one more request, sir. Let me know, sir. In future, would like to, whenever you would like to plan India, particularly Tamil Nadu, inform me, sir. We will arrange you on the national seminar, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you. Sure.
Sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.